Trump's gold card visa is basically trying to charge someone $1 million to ride in your hoopty. Right now, the U.S. is a car that's been fleeced. The wheels got stolen. They took the copper wire out. The radio's gone. The windows are broken, and it's sitting on bricks in somebody's yard, and he's trying to charge you $1 million to sit in the seat. If you haven't seen, a couple of things were announced yesterday as far as immigration goes. One being the Trump gold card, where someone can pay $1 million to basically skip all the difficulties of the U.S. citizenship process. And then also when it comes to H-1B visas, which are the kind of visas you get, a lot of people in tech companies have them, where your employer and your work can get you a work visa in this country. They are going to be charged $100,000, I believe, per applicant, your company, if they want to get people to have H-1B visas. This policy is actually fucking insane. In the future, if this country still exists, this is going to be one of those policies that they put in the history books as actual landmark fucking disaster. Like the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. It's genuinely nuts. $100,000 is just an arbitrary deterrent number. It's just a number so big that it's not worth paying. That's higher than many people who are here on H-1B visas salaries in the first place. Thing number one is that this is going to fucking, in the immediacy, tank the fucking market. It's just going to cause a bunch of companies to panic because they're going to have to suddenly reshift their entire job structure, right? I need to be incredibly careful with what I'm about to say in regards to Charlie Kirk's shooter. There are currently some stories going around about him having had a trans partner. These stories are not confirmed, I'd like to say. What is true is that he had a roommate who he texted. We do not have that much information about the roommate. The speculation is that this roommate was trans. And and because of this, I'm seeing a lot of people go, oh, we proved you he was left-wing. We told you he was left-wing. And the thing is, if you think that a trans gamer means that they're left-wing, you have not gone far enough to the right. I want to be careful with what I'm saying, is that once you pass regular American republicanism and you get into some deep online 4chan / poll type shit, that coalition looks a lot different than white Christian nationalism looks. And as someone who occasionally just dives in and peeks at what that world is, you will understand that a lot of these people have very little qualms with sexuality when compared to something like race or Jews. I keep thinking about Aiden Walker's post about how this murder might be a shit post and how we're not prepared to understand that. But looking at it from that angle, and if you know what kind of politics 4chan-esque people engage in, sexuality is not a key detail in telling what their politics are, or even that their politics make sense in a traditional way at all. But I want to be careful because I don't want to direct any more hate towards trans people, but I just need to be clear. There's a section of political belief that perhaps you guys do not know about. A joke where Trump thinks that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has something to do with black people because of the word urban is no longer, or has never really been, a joke. In an attempt to get Eric Adams to drop out of the New York City mayoral race to give Cuomo a better chance, he's offered Adams a position in the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is currently being led by his cabinet appointee, Scott Turner. During his first administration was held by Ben Carson. And while there are significantly more important things happening, I think I'd pay money. Well, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay money. But I'd love to see him explain what he thinks the Department of Housing and Urban Development is. Just no help, no words, just him fully niggas. This is the least important part of living in Trump's fascist America, but it does get on my last nerve, is how much he clearly wants to look like a dictator. This ranks far behind the expansion and brutality of ICE, or the ongoing genocide in Palestine, or the destruction of the Department of Education, or the absolute gutting of our healthcare system, or the power being given to oligarchs, or the destruction of our environment, or the absolute disregard for laws and general congressional powers, or the other million things that I could bucket lists that are going on right now. But every time I watch an Oval Office briefing and I'm reminded that he's just playing Sims with a despot expansion on, I literally just get so annoyed. It ranks so low on the list of things that matter to me in the world, but it just is a blatant, annoying, and really fucking loud reminder that everything is fucking terrible now. In between arresting black people in DC, terrorizing the homeless, and making the lives of migrants absolutely miserable and full of fear, they had time to just paint a bunch of shit in the Oval Office gold. There's something to be said about the mundanity of evil that is while you are uprooting families' lives and sending missiles to brown kids in Palestine, you have time to play interior decorator. They profiled a man, arrested him, sent him to a prison in a foreign country, and then it got national news, and so they were forced to release him, and now they're arresting him again out of pure spite and pettiness for the attention that he got. Yeah, hell is hot. Hell is hot. When I show people this chart and they get mad at me, I need you guys to know that the way I found out about this chart was I met someone who was formerly on the Biden administration who works for the Blue Rose Research Group. This chart is Democrat data created by Democrats to figure out where they went wrong. And when I show people this, they just get mad at me and yell about socialists. Ever since 2016 and the whole Bernie caused Hillary to lose agenda happened, there's been this rampant tear that like the problem is leftist or socialist, but like statistically what the numbers show is that like 80+% of Bernie supporters voted for Hillary. I think 12% of Bernie supporters ended up not voting, and then they say somewhere between like 6 to 12% of them ended up voting for Trump. And of the Bernie supporters who voted for Trump, they were formerly Republicans who didn't vote for Obama but saw something in Bernie. And despite that fact, like, people still blame Bernie bros. And it just keeps escalating. And I don't know why you guys are, I mean, I know why, but it feels very silly that you guys are insistent upon making leftists the fault of everything. Even when data doesn't show that, even when voter turnout doesn't show that, like even when like all of the truth of the world isn't in alignment with that, you're gonna blame us. You're gonna blame us. And like realistically, that's not why you're going to lose, but it's not helping. You're at odds with the truth. You can keep yelling about Jill Stein, and like, Jill Stein sucks. She does. She didn't get that many votes. Like, in theory, the Libertarian Party stole more votes from Republicans than the Green Party stole from Democrats. Guys, like, I don't know. At some point, you have to trust the reality of the world, which is that the average American voter, the median American voter, does not trust the Democratic Party to handle the issues that they feel plague the nation. Leftist purity politics are why Republicans are going to win. We spend all this time infighting while the Republicans are all united, and that's why they win and we lose. You guys are going to make me have to quote Tucker Carlson, and not because he said something profound, but because he is profoundly stupid. The left, to their great credit, are masters of organizing. They are willing to put aside their differences for the sake of achieving a common goal. They don't argue with each other in public. They know their strength in numbers. Organizing is the path to power. Here, we think that the right is fully united. There, they think that the left is fully united. People argue. That is normal. That is process. It's not leftist infighting or purity politics. I need you guys to look at a chart with me from the Blue Rose Research Center that they did after studying 26 million people, surveying 26 million people after the election. So the x-axis on this chart is how important this issue is to you as a voter, and the y-axis is who do you trust to handle it more, Democrats or Republicans. The first thing you can really get at is that there are significantly more issues that the general American electorate believe that Republicans are better at handling than Democrats, and to a much stronger degree. Not only that, but significantly more issues that people view as important people believe that Republicans are better at handling. When you take a moment to look at the most important issues, cost of living, the economy, inflation, government spending, they believe that Republicans are better at handling it. Poverty, housing, and education, they're perfectly split on. And I need you to really process this. Political division, meaning like the gap between Democrats and Republicans and uniting as a nation, they think Republicans are better at that. It's not leftist infighting. It's the fact that the American public does not think that Democrats can handle the issues that people care about the most. And now I'm certain that this chart has probably changed as Trump's tariffs have kind of just fucked the market. But you guys gotta lock in. You can't just be mad at leftists. You have to convince people you can govern.